take a second and in your mind, think of the difference between knowledge and wisdom. And along those same lines, try and differentiate between a person who seeks knowledge and a person who seeks wisdom. And I'm not saying that those two things are mutually exclusive, that you can't do both. I'm saying that there are people who only seek knowledge and there are people who seek wisdom. And I think in order to seek wisdom, you have to seek knowledge as well. But I think in society today, we often favor and praise and follow people who seek knowledge. And I think we've lost a little bit of the value of wisdom. And I want to talk about that today, about seeking wisdom. And there's a story that actually goes along with this, a parable, if you will, and about people who were seeking knowledge rather than wisdom. And it's found in the Old Testament, and it's the story of the Tower of Babel, or Babel. I've heard it both ways. And the story goes that humanity at the time, because this was after the flood and there was only, a small number of people, and so they united in this cause to build a tower to reach heaven, to reach God. And in the process of them building this tower, God sees their pursuit and curses them, that they are unable to communicate with each other. And the story goes that is how all of the languages of the world were created. And anthropologists and biblical scholars agree that did not happen. However, I do think that there is a moral to the story. There are multiple morals to the story. There are different interpretations, and the one I want to talk about today is that I think what could be interpreted from the story is that if we are so focused on pursuing knowledge, we are pursuing to know something, that we will reach a point where we are ultimately cursed because we can no longer communicate on the same level. We will digress into confusion and talking above each other and a sense of elitism that comes from knowledge. And I think that that's what that story is trying to say, is that it's a warning that as we seek knowledge rather than wisdom, that we will ultimately become divisive. We will become confused and the language that we use to try to impart that knowledge will lack the wisdom of clarity, if that makes sense. I think most of you know that I struggle with faith in miracles and in myths like that, but I always think that there's something to be learned, regardless of whether or not it actually is historically factual. And so that's one of the interpretations that I take from the Tower of Babel or Babel. And I know I'm not alone in that. I did not make that up. That's someone else's interpretation that I heard a long time ago. But I think it's valuable. I assume that most of the people that are watching this video know that I went through a spiritual deconstruction in my life, or a faith crisis. And shortly after that, due to that crisis, due to the feelings that I felt going through that, I consciously decided to only trust my rational mind, to completely distrust anything outside of what can be proven. And so in that decision to not trust my intuition, to not trust my inner voice, whatever you want to call it, and only trust what my brain could show me was evidence-based and proven, I moved into a part of my life that in hindsight was full of anger and divisiveness and confusion, and it wasn't providing the life and the security that I wanted it to, that I expected it to. It just turned into kind of what this story, the myth of the Tower of Babel was telling, is that like in my pursuit of knowledge, I divided myself from my peers, my family, my friends, And I wish I could tell you that I immediately flipped that switch and came back, and now I have full trust in my intuition again, and I'm living a healthy, balanced life between logic and intuition. But I'm still in the process of learning to trust myself again. But I've noticed that as I've shifted my focus away from knowledge to incorporate wisdom in my seeking of truth, I don't only focus on factual knowledge, but I also bring in wisdom. The outcome of that pursuit has been much more beneficial and much happier in general. And I think it's because the pursuit of knowledge for me was I wanted to be right. That was the whole reason behind my pursuit of knowledge. And now that I am pursuing wisdom and knowledge, but wisdom is at the forefront, behind the pursuit of wisdom is fueled by transcendence and inclusion and transformation, not the desire to be better than or to be right. And so, moral of the story is, maybe if we seek wisdom, instead of trying to build a tower to find God, we can find God as we descend. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my thought for today. If that was interesting, hit the like button, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Tell me what I would find if I could see right through you. There's nothing wrong with being right, just don't make it your debut. There's a lot more to this life than proving your worth. Show me what you got inside. Don't get swallowed up living in strife.